Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Classy Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is The Dark Knight, and it was made in 2008, and it's about 2 hours and 32 minutes long. And the movie starts with a bunch of clowns robbing a bank, or a bunch of people dressed up as clowns robbing a bank, and one of the robbers is actually the Joker, and he takes out his teammates one by one, and he escapes in a school bus with a bunch of cash. And then sometime later there is a Russian mob boss making a deal with the Scarecrow, another Batman villain I guess in their universe, and they get attacked by people dressed up as Batman with Uzis and shotguns, and then the real Batman arrives and he takes them out, all of them, and he puts Scarecrow behind bars. And then there is another scene where Batman goes to talk to the police chief Gordon at a rooftop, and they talk about the Joker and that he's back, this weird kind of guy, and then cutting to Alfred looking for Bruce Wayne in the mansion, but he can't find him, and he is at one of his hideouts and trying to stitch himself back together again, but Alfred kind of helps him out. And on the TV there's talk of this person who wants to be the new district attorney called Harvey Dent. And there's this trial scene where he is trying to nail or put an end to the crime of Gotham City, and I think the guy is called Malone or Maloney or something, Baloney, whatever. And basically what happens is that a gun gets pulled on him at court, and he disarms the guy, and he makes he's basically trying to be like the White Knight of Gotham City. So that's the whole deal, and that will become important later in the story as well. And then Batman goes to talk to Police Chief Gordon again, and about the crime in Gotham City and about cleaning up the mess. And then cutting to Wayne in a meeting, and he is actually falling asleep because, excuse me, there's this Chinese company run by a man called Lau, and he pretends to be asleep, and the meeting kind of ends, and he talked to Fox, which is played by Morgan Freeman, and he's part of the R&D division, and he kind of calls Lau's bluff because the numbers were not right from the beginning, but he also wants Fox to improve his bat suit, basically. So that also becomes an important plot thing later in the movie. And later, Dent is at a fancy restaurant with Rachel, having dinner, of course, and I think Rachel is a former interest of Bruce Wayne, and she knows that Bruce Wayne also is Batman. So what happens is Dent and Rachel are having this wonderful dinner, and Bruce Wayne crashes it with a Russian ballerina or something, and they start to talk about the Batman and whether or not he's good for the city and whatnot, and it ends with Bruce actually sponsoring Harvey Dent's run for the new DA of Gotham City. And once you've been sponsored by the Wayne family, you're basically set for life. So it's a good deal for Dent. And then the mobsters are having this meeting, all of them, like the Italians, the Russians, and all the upstanding mob bosses. And they are talking about how they're supposed to move money and stuff. And there's Lau is in on the whole deal. He is basically taking care of all the money. And then the Joker enters the scene, and Hugh Ledger is one of the most brilliant physical and weird actor I've ever seen. He plays the Joker in such a charming and weird way. He does a thing with his mouth where he kind of he has something in his mouth all the time, this brilliant thing. And he walks in, and he wants to take care of the Batman, and he wants half of their money to do that, and they laugh at him, but he takes it seriously, and of course there's people that doubt him, and he kills one of them by putting a pen on the table and smashing his head against it. So he's kind of a psychopath, and you can't really underestimate it. You don't really know what he's basically trying to do, but they they don't really believe him. So he's he opens up his jacket, and it's full of grenades and bombs, and he has this string attached to his fingers. So if you change your mind, you can call my number. And he takes out this Joker card out of a deck with his number on it, which I thought was kind of funny. And then Commissioner Gordon, or Police Chief Gordon, and Dent is on the top of a building, and they are arguing about the crime in Gotham City, and Batman is there too. And they need, basically what they need to take out Lau, because he's part of the whole reason of they're basically hiding money and laundering it somehow. And Gotham City doesn't really have like a way to get him in China, so basically what Batman does is he's supposed to go to China. So they send, like, Fox takes his gear to the Chinese for the Chinese job, and the Joker kills off one of the mob bosses that didn't trust him, and he tells the story, and it's this weird scene because he lies every time about the story, how he got these like smiling scars on his cheek, and he talks about his dad and whatnot, and how he carved up his mouth or whatever. And then he ends the sentences with the line, which is brilliant, by the way, "Why so serious?" So Fox goes to China to talk with Lau, and it's basically a diversion. He leaves like a phone in the lobby that messes up their security system, and later Batman goes in and he takes out the guards, and he brings in Lau via like a drop point with like with a plane. And then he leaves him at the doorstep of Police Chief Gordon's residence, basically. And then Joker makes a statement on TV: if Batman doesn't give in to demands and take off his mask, some people will die every hour. And later Dent is at Wayne's fundraiser, and Wayne is having a speech about Dent and how he believes in Dent. And Rachel is there, and after the speech, Rachel and Wayne talk outside, and the Joker assassinates I think it's like Police Commissioner Loeb, I think his name was, and it's like a judge and one more. They're basically higher ups that were testifying or making it harder for the criminals, the mob bosses. So what happens is that the Joker drops in at the fundraiser, and he basically takes Rachel a hostage, and Bruce arrives as Batman, and the Joker drops her out a window, and Batman is forced to save her, and they land on a car. So he basically saves her. And even later, and this is kind of a stupid scene, he's looking for a fingerprint on the bullet that was fired. So first he needs to figure out like which caliber the rounds were and whatnot, and somehow he makes a computer program like this weird kind of reassembled the fingerprint on the broken bullet. I don't know how that works, but it's science. So and later there is a parade for Police Commissioner Loeb, and it ends up with like a bunch of people actually shooting at the mayor, and Police Chief Gordon gets in the way, and he gets shot, and he is presumably killed, and they get taken off, and then takes one of the followers away so he can interrogate him basically a bit later. And then Batman goes into a nightclub to talk to one of the mob bosses. I think it's Malone, and he finds out that Rachel and Dent is on the next hit list, on the hit list, and he drops Malone. So he breaks his legs basically on the pavement to get some information where the Joker is, because he doesn't have any leads at this point. And even later, the Dent is threatening one of the co-workers of the Joker, or one of the assailants or whatever, and he can't find anything out about it because he's like a schizophrenic or something, because apparently the Joker only works with people that are have problems. I don't know. But Batman arrives on the scene, and they talk, and even later Bruce talks to Rachel about giving up the whole idea and giving in to the Joker's demand, and basically showing his face, the face of Batman basically. So Alfred gives a speech to Bruce Wayne about choices, and later on TV, Dent reveals to the public that he is Batman to take the fall for it all, and he gets taken into custody, and the convoy drives him down the highway or through the city, and there's like a diversion that the Joker has created, so they have to go down into the sub part of the city, and there they get attacked by the Joker and his goons, and there's like bazookas and guns, and there's like a fighting from the car, and then Batman arrives in his car called the Tumbler. Well, it's not actually a car, it's more of a tank on wheels, and it's kind of a cool scene. He kind of rams into and whatnot, and the tank kind of breaks, and he breaks up a part of it, and it turns into a motorcycle. I don't know how, but it's kind of a cool thing, and he chases after him. And what happens is that Dent gets taken away someplace, and Batman is forced to confront the Joker, and the Joker's trailer kind of flips, and Batman drives right across, like trying to hit him like a chicken run, but he chickens out at the last time, and the Joker has the upper hand, and they goes in for like to take off Batman's mask, but apparently Police Commissioner Gordon is alive, so the Joker gets taken into the prison block or whatever, and Gordon gets to take the place of Loeb, basically, so he becomes the new commissioner. And everybody applauds, and even the Joker applauds, because he's like, this kind of a funny scene actually. And one of the convicts complain about there's something in the stomach that hurts, and later, like, there's an interrogation scene, which is also a brilliant scene, where Gordon is having this interview with the Joker, and it's going nowhere. He uncuffs him, and all of a sudden Batman steps out of the shadow, and they talk about, basically what happens is the Joker is monologuing and having all these he makes kind of sense, but Batman is not having it, and he asks where Dent is, and he doesn't get any information, and he beats the Joker up. And then the Joker kind of tells him that he has to make a choice between Rachel and Dent. So Batman basically runs after Rachel, and Gordon goes after Dent. And then the Joker asks for his one phone call, but he's not getting a phone call. So he beats up a guard and holds him hostage with a knife, and he asks for his phone call. And he calls up a number, and the convict that complained about a stomach problem, he explodes because he had a bomb inside of his stomach. So basically what happens is that Batman doesn't go for Rachel, he goes for Dent. And he arrives on time, and Rachel basically dies in the explosion because there was like this situation with dynamite and gasoline and whatnot. So what happens is that Rachel dies, as I said, and Dent gets disfigured half of his face. So of course Bruce is kind of down after all the things that have been happening, and he is kind of distraught, and Dent wakes up in a hospital, and he talks to Gordon, and this reveal where Harvey Dent actually turns into Two-Face, because when he turns his head, it's all kind of, burned away and everything. And he asked Commissioner Gordon, like, what did they call me down at the precinct? And he says, like, well, they call you Two-Face, basically. Two-Face Dent or something like that. So at this warehouse, Joker burns half of the money that he got from the mobsters. He just burns them, and he makes the mobster watch it burn. And then he makes he calls into a TV channel, and he makes demands that if they kill one man, there's like this guy. If they kill him, or either a hospital gets it. So he doesn't say like specifically what hospital it is that he's gonna destroy. So Joker goes to visit Dent at the hospital, and somehow managed to talk him down into basically becoming a puppet of his. So he hands him a gun, and he makes him like choose. So at this point, Harvey Dent is Two-Face, and he uses like a coin to determine the fate of the Joker. So the Joker just puts the gun to his own face, and like heads or tails, and of course the Joker walks out of there, and it's this funny scene where he just walks out and start to explode, and he just stops and he just pushes the button. Everything else is supposed to blow up. What is happening? And then the rest of the explosions happen, and he just walks off the set kind of casually, which was a funny scene, I thought. And then Dent confronts the guy who got him framed in the first place. It was an inside job, of course, and he kills him. And then Batman uses Fox's tech that he developed, like a sonar technology, and he makes every phone in Gotham into a microphone, so he can visually find the Joker if he gets on like the internet or a phone or whatever. So it's kind of like invading the privacy of people, and Fox is not happy with it, but he basically tells Fox, like, this is the last thing, you don't need to work for me anymore, this is the last thing, and you are the one responsible. If you want to pull the plug after this, it's fine. So it's kind of this nice kind of deal anyway. And then what basically happens is that Dent goes after Malone, the mobster, in a car, and he shoots the driver, and that kills the mob boss, presumably. And then the Joker pulls another stunt. There are two ships. There's like two passenger ships. There are two detonators. One is given to the normal Freightliner guys, and the other one is full of criminals. So they have to make a decision, because the opposite detonators detonate the other side of the boat, if that makes sense. So it's about being humane. So at this point, Batman figures out where the Joker is, because he listens on a call, and he goes to the building and he tries to take him out, but Joker is, of course, he's planned ahead, so he is dressed up like former police people, like cops, into clown gear and taped guns to their hands. So when the SWAT team arrives, they will kind of take him out. So Batman has to take out the SWAT team, and he saves the police dressed up as clowns, and he goes for the Joker, and the Joker kind of puts the dogs on him and gets beaten up by a stick, but he gets the overhand, and he managed to trap the Joker and basically take him in. But there is this one more other thing that they need to do. So Gordon goes goes for Dent, basically, because Harvey Dent has taken his family captured at this building, like this construction site. And it's like a really sad thing to see how far like Dent has fallen. And Batman arrives, and he kind of explains to Dent like he has fallen. So that was the Joker's plan, like to see the White Knight fall, see how deep he can fall. And so Batman basically saves Gordon's wife and son from Dent or Two-Face, and they fall down, and Two-Face Dent, he dies. And this is the sad part of the movie, because the White Knight was Harvey Dent, basically, and that was what Gotham basically deserved. But they can't really if they basically says like if Dent was the bad guy all along, it doesn't promote a positive picture of the state and everything that's been happening. So basically Batman says like, I can be that guy, the fall guy that takes the blame for all of this, and he rushes out in the night and he gets chased off by the other cops. Basically he is the hero that Gotham needs but it doesn't deserve, or something like that. So what do I think about this movie? It's one of my favorite Batman movies, actually, except for like the original Batman. That's pretty cool too. But I love Heath Ledger in this one, and I also like the it's meant to be taken seriously, and the Joker is the guy who really steals the show. He is manipulative and is like a psychopath, and he's funny and sometimes relatable too. He doesn't really care what happens. He's just like, well, I just want to fuck around with you guys, basically. That's what he does. And also like the other actors like Morgan Freeman and what was the other guy? Like Gary Oldman plays like the Commissioner Gordon, and Christian Bale is Batman, and yeah, Michael Caine plays Alfred. And they do a really good job, and it's one of my favorite movies of this Batman trilogy. So yeah, I like it. So I can definitely recommend this movie. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for listening and for watching, and take care.